Welcome to my super type A attempt at being Zen, the podcast. My name is Risha York, and I will be your host. If you are overworked, overtired, overstretched, overwhelmed, and just over it, you are in the right place. We like to say we are currently working towards Zen-ish. I'm thrilled that you've joined us. Let's see who will be supporting us on our path to Zen today. Hello.
Hi.
And welcome to my super type A attempt at being Zen, the podcast. Friends, I have with me here today, Rebecca Bolden. She is, well, introduce yourself, Rebecca.
Sure. My name's Rebecca Bolden, and I'm the owner and operator of the Holding Space. It's a yoga studio which specializes in mom and baby, prenatal, and kids. However, that's not where I began on my yoga journey. So I have a lot to talk about when it comes to the art of Zen, because I think, my journey with Zen started long before I opened my studio, for sure.
That makes sense. I think you might actually be one of the most Zen human beings I know, like in person, in real life.
Thanks.
That's true though, right? Like I always think if I'm having one of those, like I'm going to go over the brink, I'm too like worked up about this. I'm like, how would Rebecca respond to this? Because you're very even keeled.
Thanks. I'm not always.
No, of course not. No one is always. I think that's actually one of the biggest misunderstandings about a journey to Zen, right? Is people think, oh, well, to be Zen, I have to be a Zen master. I have to meditate 18 hours a day and,
live in a cave.
Yeah, like give up all my worldly possessions. Like we can define Zen for ourselves, can't we?
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
That's sort of what it feels like to me. And I think we need a modern reinterpretation of the word for all of us who struggle to get to that place or even visit it.
Totally.
Yeah. So the first question I actually had for you was, what is the most important element in your journey to Zen?
Right. So I think that before diving into that, it is important to kind of define what we mean by Zen.
Yeah.
In this context, because, the word Zen comes from Zen Buddhism, which is like an entire religion.
Yes.
And so if you were to ask me that question pertaining to that, well, I'm not a Zen Buddhist. But if the word Zen here is a calm, collected kind of chill vibe, and the ability to get to that place in moments of stress, then
I think it's a bit that. I think it's also, as much as you would define it in Buddhism, connecting to the unconscious or the other or enlightenment, or I think there's a lot of ways to journey there, right? And to define Zen, like you're suggesting. I think the context in which I use the word is balance.
I'm laughing because all morning I was thinking balance is the key.
Yeah.
I completely agree. And with thinking about all of the actual Zen practices that happen if you do lead a life in Zen Buddhism, which is these practices of balancing rocks or making mandalas in the sand and allowing for nature to wash them away, for the wind to blow it away, and being okay with that. So they're all just metaphors.
Yeah.
For a way to live, like the ability to let go the
Yeah.
ability to create and let go or put out into the universe, and the unattached or non-attachment aspect to it. And then I mean, those balancing rocks, like it really all comes down to balance.
Yeah. It's so funny because I think as someone who is super type A, I struggle with things being temporary.
Yeah.
Right. And I think that's part of the balance that I have to come to, that I have to be enlightened by, is that everything is temporary.
Everything
Like
is
absolutely
temporary.
everything, just when you look at it on the grand scale. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we can get caught up in this imbalance, right? Where you're giving your all or everything to one focus or one area, and it feels wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And we're trying to find the new balance in your life um, that allows you, me at least, as a super type A person, to accept that things are temporary and that change is imminent,
Mm-hmm.
and be comfortable with that.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we all get stuck in our ways, right? Regardless of whether it's healthy or not. And even if you begin a healthy habit, that can become unhealthy if you are doing it too much or too often, excuse me.
Yeah. There's a part in the course where I talk about patterns that have once served you.
Mm-hmm.
And suddenly they don't.
Yeah.
And it's sort of like, you can't sprint through a marathon, right? So you might have had this like trick or felt like you found the hack or whatever it is to a life moment or life event. You're like, haha, I know better. And you're telling all your friends and you're so proud of yourself, but you do it so much that it actually doesn't help you anymore. Yeah.
Yeah.
So as a super type A person, it's hard to let those moments go, right? You feel like, oh, I've got a good idea around this, or I found the key to success here, or efficiency, which is like turns me on beyond anything else. I love efficiency. Like there's something about that just I'm like, yeah.
Yeah, it's very satisfying.
Right? And I think part of my temperament just gets so riled up by it. But then it's funny when you start to do things in the name of efficiency that now take away from something else or affect
like
your
a
relationships.
Process. I mean, you might be shortening a process, but maybe it's about that process.
And this is it, right? Like the journey to Zen, it's funny because the last module in the course is called Am I Zen Yet?
Right.
And I'm like, yeah, well, so no, right? Because it's a journey, right? And it's about the journey.
Yeah, I'd say it's a practice.
It's a practice.
Like
that's a great way of putting it.
Kind of
implies.
It implies that there's an end, like there is a place that you're journeying to.
Yeah.
And I think it's something you practice constantly, and it ebbs and flows, and sometimes you may be in a state of Zen more than other times, and that happens. It's like you can zoom in and out of your life and recognize that you're going to have states of Zen, like in your childhood, it's not super Zen although
I think it depends on the kid.
Sure, but it's like it's playful, and it's like you're doing stuff, and you're they're like you want to be entertained, and it's like that part of your life. And then there's other parts of your life where, like, maybe later in life you want to just settle down a bit. Like,
I can appreciate that. Absolutely.
Like maybe you're not going out to the bar until 3 a.m.
Oh, for
every
sure.
weekend anymore.
Absolutely. Man, like, it's been a while.
Yeah.
But I also feel like it almost flanks. Like there's that moment in childhood that is very Zen. The fact that I can be completely absorbed.
Of course.
In play or completely
as soon
absorbed.
As I said play, I was like, play is Zen.
Yeah. Like so absorbed in like making rock soup or so absorbed in coloring a picture for like an hour.
Yeah. So you're absolutely right. In fact, I might want to take that away altogether, that statement that said that childhood's not a Zen time, because of course it is. Of
Right.
course, it's so easy to be mindful,
So
be
easy to be
present.
mindful. I think it's like you get into a place somewhere, I don't know, for me it was in my teens, where everything became about accomplishment. I had to accomplish things, get to this goal, then get to that goal, graduate high school, then get into university and get good grades.
Right.
You
Whereas
know,
when you're a kid, you do a thing for the sake of doing the thing, not for the sake of making some sort of accomplishment.
yeah. And I feel like I want to come back to that place as an adult where I'm doing a thing to do the thing.
I've done that.
Right.
I've started doing things just to do the thing. Like, I was having a conversation just yesterday about how it's okay to do things that we're not good at.
Oh yeah.
Like, it's not, the purpose is not like, okay, I'm gonna, recently, a few years ago, I started snowboarding. I think that there's this pressure, at least I have felt it, that when you do a thing, you have to be the best at it, or like, and maybe it's not actually a pressure from outside. It's
internal.
It's internal.
Yeah.
It's my own pressure.
1,000%.
Yeah. And that's like a little bit of type A in me, which is funny because most people think I don't have that aspect to me. But yeah, like when I try a thing, I want to be the best at it right away.
Yeah.
And I'm working with it being okay not to be the best at it right away. Like I'm not going to go to the Olympics for snowboarding.
Are you sure?
I've surrendered to that.
I'm so proud of you.
I just like to float down the hill in a very Zen way.
In a very Zen way.
That's my purpose with snowboarding.
I've also, in my Zen also come to places where it's like, and I'd love to hear your take on this too, where you're comfortable not doing things.
Oh yeah, I'm quite comfortable not doing
it. But as I'm getting older, I'm also getting more comfortable with the things I don't want to do.
Actually, I think that we can bring this back to balance.
Yeah.
And how you need to find your thing. And your things can change.
Yeah.
Like you may have loved ice skating as a kid.
I did,
you don't really do that. And then you figure it out and you go for it. And it's not as fun. And and that's an interesting, this might become a different thing, but that's like, okay, well, I actually really do want to do that. And so then you do the things in order to make it safe for yourself. Yeah. Like, okay, well, I'm going to put some padding on and I'm going to wear like,
wear an ankle brace
and I'm going to, and I'm like, maybe I'm going to actually commit to like doing some strengthening around my ankle joint or around whatever. If you really want to do that thing. And that's like maybe a different thing than what we're talking about, like putting yourself outside your comfort zone and things like that. Yeah. And like actually seeing improvement, going from one step to the next and being really proud of yourself and things like that for doing a thing.
So that's where I would usually go to, because my super type A self is like, I can do it. And so what I really want to do is put the plan in place to get there and do it. Right. And then I think about it like truly in my heart of hearts. Yeah. And I go,
yeah, I don't want to do that.
I don't like skating and I really don't like winter or cold. So like, what am I losing by not putting all of the effort in to go out and skate? I mean, I don't know. Is it moments with my family? No, I still get moments with my family.
Can you use that time when your family is out there skating for some Zen?
For some Zen personal development time?
For a little.
Right?
Can it be a win-win for everyone?
And I think about that a lot because, in my work, we discuss fixed and growth mindset. And I have this like ongoing joke that I'm such a spaz. I hurt myself all the time. And that is a fixed mindset. It's also a reality. Like I walk into walls and I bump into things and I'm just constantly hurting myself. It's just like kind of how my life has gone. And that's okay. I think it's because I'm not a careful person. right? I like to throw myself into things willy-nilly and just go. And so accidents happen. And I'm becoming a little bit more mindful and I'm becoming a little bit more careful. And I'm starting to be a bit more aware of where my body is in space.
So this
And
actually does come back to childhood again, where this is kind of what I'm talking about, where kids are like that, right? Like
Mhm.
kids are just like, especially when they're growing and they're like, they have no idea where like one limb begins and the other ends, and
Yeah.
like where they are in space, and they're just like kind of flailing about.
Yeah. And that is who I am as a person. like,
Just kind of flailing about.
I'm just sort of always flailing about. I don't I love
And you do have a very childlike quality about you, like a playful, fun, childlike quality.
I think so. Yeah, I like to believe that I
You
do.
do.
Right? And so there's like an element of that where I think it's because I don't take myself very seriously, like generally in life.
Which is, I would say, another element to Zen.
So I'm like halfway there. Is that what you're telling me?
Yeah.
But it's that balance.
But yes, actually, because we're friends and
Yeah.
I've seen you in those moments. And that is when you are most Zen.
Yeah,
Is when
it's
you
true.
are playing.
Yeah.
Like when you're doing karaoke, or when you're putting on a play, or
Yeah.
when you're like feeding these parts of you that are
Playful. Yeah. Creative.
So maybe ice skating, just like, that's not the thing for you anymore, to be playful in.
I think I like it when I'm more in my mind than in my body. Is that weird? Like I think about that
I think
sometimes.
a lot of people are like that.
Yeah.
And I think, I would say I like it when I'm more in my body than in my mind.
And I've noticed that.
Except,
which is why you're so inspirational to
the
me.
best place to be is when my body and mind are in balance.
Connected, in balance. See, you brought that right back around. Yeah, I agree with that. So, when I go to a yoga class, I leave there feeling balanced. My mind and body are checked into each other, which is cool, right?
Mm-hmm.
When I am ice skating, my mind is going, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit, like pretty much the entire time.
Yeah.
And my body is just working really hard to stay stable and okay.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, that's hard work.
Yeah, I'm not
maybe
opposed to hard work. I love hard work.
you can choose, though.
Yeah, but on ice.
Sometimes life feels like that.
Oh, does it ever?
Like that's a pretty good metaphor.
That is a pretty good metaphor, actually. Maybe I should take up ice skating. I'm rethinking this whole thing.
Like maybe this is actually the thing that's going to bring you to Zen.
Yeah.
It's like to put yourself in that hard
To put
position
myself in that
where you
hard
may just
position.
break your ankle again, and it's not a good idea.
I mean, remains to be seen. We'll see. We'll see.
Okay.
So then the most important element you think is balance.
I do. Yeah, I would. I'd stick to that answer.
Okay. So how do you maintain that balance or maintain your Zen under an extreme amount of stress?
Yeah. I take stock. So the first thing, I think, like the first step is recognizing that you are in a big amount of stress.
Yeah.
I think that often, these things accumulate and you don't necessarily notice until maybe a friend or says like, dude,
are you okay?
You are strung out, or it physically manifests into sickness, or or panic attacks, or like where your body actually has to step in and be like, you are not okay.
Yeah. It's funny, we talk in our family how we all have stomach issues, and I think it's stress manifestation, like generally.
Right.
We carry our stress in our stomachs.
Yeah. I mean, our bodies keep the score, that.
Right.
That book. Yeah. Yeah. So what was the question again?
So it's how do you maintain that
Right.
zen
And
or
so
that
how do you
balance
maintain that? So once you
under that stress?
recognize that you are in that amount of stress, then it's taking stock. Like it's like, why am I in this amount of stress?
Right.
And you have to pinpoint what it is that's like the root problem,
Yeah.
and then you have to change it.
Yeah.
Now, if there is no way out of where you are in, because that's a thing, that's
Sure.
normal life.
Yeah.
Like, we all go through
Sometimes we can't
periods where it's
control our
like,
stresses.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Then I come back to the body always.
Yeah.
And so if it's a moment, like if it's a moment of stress, like an actual physical panic, where your heart is starting to palpate and
Yeah.
it's breath.
Right.
It's breath.
That makes so much sense.
It's grounding yourself.
Do you do
with
the
the breath.
747 or do you do?
I simplify so much to long exhales.
Yeah.
I just say exhale longer than your inhale. And
Well, that's easy.
it's pretty easy.
Why do we try and make things so hard for ourselves?
Yeah. Yeah, you don't like you don't have to do math in the moment.
Yeah. No, it's funny. Well, I think, my super type A sisters and I are always looking for a manual. Like you love a step-by-step process that makes you like, oh, that's how you do it, right? Like, of course, thank you, 1, 2, 3. But when there's the one-step process, it's like, oh, right, of course. So just exhale.
Yeah. Yeah. And that being said, that is in a moment of physical
Yeah.
panic. But
In a season.
in a season of stress, that advice might get you slapped. like when you're like, just breathe.
Yeah, for sure.
Like that's so annoying. I've been there. I do yoga, I do breath work, I work out, I do all the things.
Mhm.
And I too have seasons or moments of stress. And honestly, when someone, especially like if I have been in a depression or whatever, and someone said to me, like, maybe you should meditate.
Right.
I just want to like, it makes me very angry.
Yeah, I can appreciate that. It's like when I say like I just need some time to myself and someone says you should have a bubble bath. A bubble bath is like a trigger word for me.
Really?
Yeah.
But you love bath.
I know, but when someone tells me to do it, I don't know.
Okay.
I think it's one of those things like you love meditation, but when someone tells you to do it, it's like that's not going to
my
solve.
reaction is like, yeah, I'm aware.
Yeah. I wonder too, because you and I have this in common. We're very resourceful. And so we have likely tried a lot of things before we're venting to someone else about our situation. And so it starts to feel like, well, what about this? Yeah, of course I tried that.
Yeah, and things like meditation and like these Zen practices, you have to be doing them for a long time. Like, it's not like you're having a really stressful moment, then you can go and like meditate for a second and then you're fine.
Yeah.
It's a practice. It's a practice, and you need to implement it for forever.
Yeah, forever. For the rest of your life.
Way of life.
Yeah.
And so that would be my advice, is that implement things that you can maintain, that help you to keep a balance, so that when you do enter into a stressful season, these things are already in place.
They're there. They're supporting you, like the foundation of your
Zen. So it's more like in that moment or in that season of stress, it's not going to be so much. You'll actually find that you can take it better.
Yeah.
You can navigate through it a little more easily. Yeah. More gracefully.
I like to think of it as like preventative medicine.
Totally.
There isn't a cookie cutter solution for everyone.
No, there isn't. So that again, it's like, it comes back to find your thing.
Yeah. Like for you, you're saying like get back to your body,
Yeah.
stay in your routines,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
doing
When
those
I feel
things.
out of balance, scattered, that's when I feel stressed. When I don't have my ducks in a row, when, when things feel too chaotic,
Yeah.
then for me, that's when I feel the most stress.
Right.
So
Come back
come
to the
back,
things you know.
come back, like put your feet on the ground, center
Yeah.
ground, and then just step by step start to put those things.
It's funny. I go through seasons of meditation where I'll meditate every day for months and months. And then I don't know, my schedule shifts or something changes, or the kids are home now for the summer or something. So they're up at the crack of God knows what. And it's like, okay, there goes my meditation time. And I don't put it back into my schedule because it doesn't fit right or whatever it is, right? I fall out of the habit.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I used to do. I'd get up at 5:30, 6 in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
I'd have my morning meditation before the kids are up. But now they're beating me up. Like they get up before me.
Yeah.
So
And
I have to find
again,
another time.
that's a season, right?
The
Like that's a
season.
season in our lives.
Yeah.
And it's a chaotic one.
It's a
for
chaotic
sure.
one for
Young
sure.
kids who are getting up early, and yeah, it's a chaotic season. So my advice, and as I do work with mothers so much, my advice is find the Zen, or find the meditation in the in-between moments.
Yeah.
The kids have gone, I don't quite have to be
Anywhere yet,
somewhere
or
yet.
moving or hustling. What is the most challenging part of a journey to Zen?
Consistency, I think.
I had a feeling you were going to say that. What's challenging about being consistent for you?
Yeah, okay, for me, I get bored. Like, so
We have this in common. Yeah.
I'm a spontaneous person.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like variety.
Yeah, me too. Yeah. So I'll get like, this again. Is that awful?
Yeah.
But I do. I'm like,
So yeah, so that's tricky. But again, I think also not being so hard on yourself when you do like fall off the wagon, as it were, or yeah, that's the hardest thing.
Consistency. You know what I've started to do, and I'm trying to be more mindful around doing it. I did it accidentally for a couple of years.
Yeah.
The pre-pandemic, because obviously that was just its own era.
Mm-hmm.
But I started at one point to create, we're coming back to this word seasons. I feel like this whole podcast is seasons, but seasons of things. So, a friend of mine the other day was like, hey, do you want to go out and do this thing on Thursday? And I was like, no, I can't. And they're like, why? And I'm like, because I need to be at home. And they're like, for what? And I was like, it's January. And she was like, what? I'm like, yeah, this is sort of my hibernation season. I really take January and February to nest and snuggle up and stay home and have lots and lots of family time and play games and just connect with the people in my house.
Cool.
And I've done it for years. And when I started to sit back and think about it, I was like, yeah, I've always kind of taken January, February as a no, I don't do that. Mm-hmm. And for someone who's an extreme extrovert, it surprises people.
Yeah.
Because usually they're like, no, Risha's up for anything. Just ask her. She'll come, right? And 95% of the time, you'd be right. Mm-hmm. And even sometimes you can coax me out, depending on what it is, in January and February.
And I've had some luck to coax you out to a candlelit gentle stretch.
Yes, I do enjoy that. I do enjoy that.
It's gonna be cozy. You can wear your pajamas.
I know, it's true. I do love that. But like, I'm also, it's winter and I don't want to leave my house.
Yeah, I get it.
Right? So I get very introspective
Yeah.
in January and February. I get very like just with me.
Yeah, I'm a little bit more like that in November, December, very in tune with, oh my gosh, here we go again, but the season.
Yeah.
But and the light. So at this time of year, personally, I start to get a little more energy. And I actually start to kind of force myself out. And I have worked hard. I was very much like you in that I'd put a block up on winter. Like I
Yeah.
was like, no,
Yeah.
that is not for me. And I've done some work around embracing it.
Yeah.
And like learning how to snowboard. And I got some cross country skis. Oh, that was the other new thing. Some cross country skis for Christmas.
Oh,
I
lovely.
haven't tried them yet. So November, December, because it is actually the darkest time of the year.
Yeah.
I that is the time I certainly.
Yeah, I can
feel
appreciate
like
that. I
I'm
think I embrace the season. I feel like November, December, I'm able to keep my spirits up because I get so excited. I also love giving people gifts. It's one of my most favorite thing on the whole planet.
You're very good at it.
I love to give people presents. It's just so fun. So Christmas or the holiday season in general for me is so fun. Like I love the whole concept of planning presents for people and picking things out for the people I love. And so that brings me a lot of joy. And I have a lot of motivation around it to get out of the
I
house
get pretty
and do
stressed
things.
about it.
And really, my husband does too. It really stresses him out. And we've had this conversation because I was like, what about it? Like, what about it? And he's like, the perfect gift. I'm like, I don't think anybody's looking for the perfect gift.
Yeah, I get really like psychological about it and start thinking like, why are we even giving gifts?
Right.
And and the consumer, like I
Yeah.
get caught up in the commercialism
I used to
of
too.
it, and I have to have I have a bit of a crisis, and
Yeah.
and then there's the family time that stresses me out a bit.
Yeah.
I love my family dearly, but dynamics,
Yeah.
and all of that.
I totally
And
appreciate
the
that.
planning.
Yeah.
And the planning and being like, are we seeing this person enough and this person enough? And
Yeah. We set some
Yeah.
pretty like intense boundaries around our holiday time now. So we are home.
yeah.
And if you want to see us, you'll come to us. And that's kind of how it works.
Yeah.
And we don't go
That's
anywhere.
great. Yeah.
And with
Yeah.
young kids, it makes the most sense. And also, I was an only child from a single mother. So we traveled everywhere and saw everyone. And I didn't love it.
I follow many self-help kind of coaches and people like that, and yoga people and mindfulness people. And there was a lot of information coming at me in my social media about how to cope.
Yes.
Through the
Nedra
holiday.
Tawwab Glover released one of the most amazing books over the holidays, actually. It's called Drama Free. And I use her book, Set Boundaries, Find Peace.
Oh, nice.
As a courseware reading for my super type A attempt at being Zen. So it's one of my recommended readings.
Yeah.
I love her. Shout out to Nedra. She's like mind blowing. So her Set Boundaries, Find Peace book is out of this world. I can't say enough good things about it. Nobody is paying me to say that. I have to say that. She's just outstanding. Nice. Thank you for joining me for part 1 of my chat with Rebecca Bolden. Please tune in for part 2, where we talk even more Zen and in the body. Thank you for listening. Like and subscribe to our channel wherever you listen to podcasts. Visit www.yorkmotivational.com for more information on my Super Type A Attempt at Being Zen, the coaching program, Lead Without Permission, or visit our contact page to reach out to Risha. Wishing you all continued balance and fulfillment on your road to Zen.